Sometimes a case will turn on the testimony of a witness, maybe one witness, and that testimony is going to be critical to the outcome of the case. And you have to learn, from experience to look at that situation objectively and then sometimes go with your instincts. And that can be tough when that witness is your client. You just eventually have to make a decision where you're going to put a lot of time and a lot of money into a case based on just this one person's testimony. So years ago, we were handling a case for a shipyard worker who was injured when a crane collapsed. The dock under the crane collapsed and the crane went over into the water with him in it. And he was trapped in the cab. As it sunk to the bottom of the harbor, the air was lost in the cab and he was trying to get out, and his air didn't last, and he eventually was breathing in water. And fortunately, before he died, he was extracted from the cab. They saved him. But he had suffered from what they call anoxia. He'd been underwater too long and breathing water, and there was paint cans in there and breathed in painty water. It was a mess. Lucky he survived. But in the aftermath of this, he reported having memory problems and other cognitive difficulties that could be the result of brain damage. But this fellow had also had, he was a shipyard worker. He'd had an interesting life. He was a hard drinker. He was a smoker. When he was a young man, he'd been a boxer. All of these things could possibly explain the brain damage symptoms that he had. And so that was a big part of what the case was about. Did this guy really have brain damage or not? So we pushed the case forward. But you still, in the aftermath of it, you wonder sometimes, did he really have brain damage? Or was he faking? The tests really couldn't prove it. You could show some cortical shrinking in the brain, but a lot of people have that who drink or smoke, and they don't have those problems. So did he really have the problems or not? We didn't know till the day after we'd settled the case. So we'd spend a lot of time getting that case, negotiating and talking about it and running numbers and all the things that a person wants to know when they're settling a case. He couldn't work anymore, so I had to have enough money to last for the rest of his life and all of those things. The day after the case, he called me up. He says, I want to thank you for handling the case. I'm relieved that the case got settled. How much did we get? He didn't know, had no idea what he'd settled the case for. We had to explain the case, everything. He wasn't kidding. The bad news is good news and the bad news, same thing. He wasn't kidding, but there was just no way to know going into that. There was no way to know. You just have to learn sometimes to trust your instincts and go on that.